Dear Diary,
Cue sad music.
why does my fantasy team hate me?
I don't know.
I try so hard. Like, I spend at least 3 to 60 times amount of time as everyone else researching and all these stats, and it doesn't mean anything. No matter what happens, my team just sucks.
It's okay.
I can't quit these Dolphin running backs.
Don't quit.
Ajayi, Lamar Miller,
No.
and now Drake.
Oh boy.
And they just keep burning me.
Burn. Burn so deep. Like heartburn.
Maybe I should just be done with fantasy football.
Don't say
Because
those
obviously,
words.
it's done with me.
All right, frenemies, fans out there. Welcome to episode 7. Wait a second. Are we in church? No, we're not. We just have the presence of Reverend David of our league here in presence. Golf clap. So this is a Reverend David episode. We have had some great special guests, but this by far has to be the greatest that we have so far. So we're not going to go straight to him. We're going to go to breaking news from our man Ryan over here because it hits him really hard in place. Yeah. It was his heart. Le'Veon Bell news. What's the update, Ryan?
The update is that Le'Veon Bell has thought about his decision and he wants to play some football this season.
Eventually. But when?
Week 7, 8 time frame. But here's the thing.
29.
There's hope.
Hey, I want to go to work, boss, but I might come in at 9 a.m. instead of like your mandatory 5.
Yeah. He wants his money. I'm with him. I'm with my boy. I got to back him up on this. He wants his money, and he's gotten injured badly in the past. So I'm going to stand by Le'Veon on this one. However, the whole report was an anonymous source, just FYI. So this is one of those things that just boom, 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 like the top 5 like journalists just took and ran with. So I don't know who the source is. This could be fake news. That's an unpopular term right now.
I just thought the timing was so strange.
Yeah, I thought after the Earl Thomas tweet, that was the crazy thing.
If there was ever a moment for him to have a press conference with his shirt off, right, in his garage or like on his like T.O. like doing sit-ups, this is why I'm not out there, you fools, right?
Yeah,
and then that day he's like, yeah, I'll be back. Yeah, and probably before I have to. I just think that was so strange.
Yeah, he started saying the weird things like I see plays before it happens. And I was like, really? It just means you're a player. Yeah. You know, nothing crazy about that. But maybe that's good for you.
I'm a little bit on the fence with it, to be honest, because we got Connor, and Le'Veon's probably not going to be there next season, and the Steelers obviously want to see Connor work, and also Le'Veon has openly complained about his workload, so I'm thinking we might have like the worst fantasy situation for me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to shut up right now in case I try to trade.
Well, and then you look at Le'Veon, like Le'Veon's owned 100% of leagues across the country, right? So like there's that one guy that's like, well, please make my year happen now. Let me get a run for the playoffs. So this is somewhat good news for fantasy players everywhere. So let's go into our overall thoughts on week 4. All right, so Sean, I love what you wrote. Please start off with this.
It's amazing. I don't understand how one person can be so lucky. You heard my Dear Diary?
Yes.
I'm the world's most unlucky. The luckiest man is sitting right over here.
Luckiest man alive.
His team assassinated 3 players on Andy's roster. He had 3 people injured. I mean, it's insane. He's always at the bottom. You know,
maybe
not only just
against
3 players. Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette, and
Will Fuller.
Like 2
PPR
studs.
monster.
Yeah.
I made sure they never saw the field.
All right, what about you, Chris? What was the big takeaway?
I just really want to know, are defenses relevant anymore in fantasy football or football in general? Like, it is horrendous. I'll touch on more of that later, but I don't like watching games. It's great to watch a blowout or a high scoring game, but I'm like, where are these top defenses anymore? And then in fantasy relevancy, I'm like, it just stinks.
Yeah, I saw a stat saying that there's like easily broken all the records for most touchdowns in the leagues, like up to this point. Yeah. Like it's just scoring. Every game is over.
I
30
think
points.
You go in a coaching perspective. David can speak to it more with that collective bargaining agreement where they don't hit as much going in. I think defenses are just getting a little softer and softer as we go, as they're just running through with shirts and hats and you just don't get the speed and the pop there, and it looks like it's just 7-on-7 with like Jared Goff against the Vikings defense on Thursday night. Like the guy had the cleanest jersey I've ever seen at the end of the game.
I mean, it started when they made the rule of illegal contact after 5 yards, right? And since then, it's continued to be rule after rule, allowing the offense to have the advantage, right? I mean, I think of like Wes Welker started playing right now. He might get 2,000 yards every season,
true.
right?
Yeah.
He's like, because it was over the middle, you get crushed, and
why you
little
have-
guys can't do it. And now people do it, and no one can touch them. And now the quarterback can't get landed on the wrong way, so these huge men are running at him like on tiptoes, trying to patty cake him to the ground. I mean, it's so hard to play defense in the NFL right now.
We're in an industry that promotes that. Fantasy is an offensive type of industry. We want points. We want numbers. There's money in this stuff now. So people that play the daily fantasy, the weekly fantasy for money, this is what's driving it. And I think the NFL is following the money.
For me, I have to ask
Whoa,
myself.
conspiracy theory. Ding, 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 ding.
The question now is not which defense do I start. It's
question-
should I start a defense? Because
Find the one
zero
that won't get you-
sometimes is better than what the defense would get me.
That's what's
as
been
a
this
negative.
year.
Yep. So, Ryan, what's your overall thoughts here?
You hate kickers, right?
Call me the kicker whisperer.
How? Why?
I feel the kickers, man. I don't know how to put it. Like Cody Parkey, I was like, I'm not feeling Ryan Suckup this week. I'm gonna go with Cody Parkey.
Wow.
Just feeling it, man.
We're gonna have like a
feelings.
voodoo like
Like a feeling.
gut feeling
Yeah.
segment.
And
with
guess what?
Ryan.
He got 15 points.
That's how you know you're like the luckiest man. Take him to Vegas. I feel like it's black tip.
I'm
Put
feeling
put
it.
it on black tip. Put my
I'm
chip
feeling
there.
it.
Don't you all
Yeah.
feel like Ryan looks like a Cody Parkey? That is exactly
He's got a
what
Cody
he looks
face.
like. You would
And a Parkey
absolutely
personality.
Cody Parkey.
Cody Parkey.
Absolutely.
David, what were your thoughts, man?
Yeah, so I mean, just two games stuck out. One, the Rams offense, which we all knew was going to be good. I mean, I think you could start one of their linemen in fantasy and get points. I mean, they just, how do they have points to go around to 3 receivers and a running back? I mean, that's unreal. I mean, I guess they're tight ends, whatever. But I mean, I think everyone on the Rams, if I have them on my team, I'm starting them, right? I don't care if they're wide receiver 3 or whatever. And then
Cooper
the
Kupp.
one that, oh my gosh, Morgan scared the crap out of me last week with Cooper Kupp. It was Thursday night and I was down by
He
40.
accidentally left him in the line.
I know. I was like, oh. But then the one that was truly shocking was the Bears offense. I mean, I have had a hard and fast rule. I don't think I've had a Bears offensive player on my team in maybe a decade. Because their offense is just, I mean, maybe their running back's okay at once.
was like 4 to
But
10.
then they
Yeah.
have, he throws 6 touchdowns to a bunch of people I couldn't name, right? And then their best receiver catches only one of them. Anyway, so I'm like, should I pick up a Bears player?
Yeah, no one's
Should
ever
I
said that. It's
get
like
one?
the same thing with the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. So we were talking about going on the waiver wire. No one ever does that, but now we did it. What's being typed in? We got some breaking news.
Breaking news: we almost forgot here.
Oh, please!
We had
please
a
go
we had a
on.
matchup this week that there were some stakes on
yes,
the line.
totally
We forgot to
forgot
bring
that.
it up last week, but Ryan, go ahead and take it. Who'd you play this week?
I played Andy this week.
Donathan did.
Yep, and I won. So
Jonathan beat Andy.
I believe there's some audio of a deal between us.
There was.
So he will be known as Auto Draft now.
Andy
so.
is auto draft. No more.
So get in there, Andy, and change your name to Auto Draft for
you
the rest
must
of the
do it.
season.
You've been put
So you
on
wear that
notice.
shame if you win the.
Man,
the
I
league.
was 100% certain I was going to be Jonathan.
It was
100%.
Luckiest man. I need
That's
that.
why I was stressed this week. I was watching the waivers more. I changed my kicker 3 times before I was
kicker.
like,
What's the
Cody, bro.
difference?
Cody, bro. Like nobody changes 3
Yeah,
kickers.
you know what I'm saying?
All right, so let's go to our freak out thing. I usually try to do that. Oh, freak out! Little thing going in. And there was a lot to freak out about this week here. And, man, I'm just going to keep leading Sean into it because it's just funny when I see what he wrote. Sean, what are you freaking out on?
Well, last week it was you freaking out about Drake for me. This week
I
I,
tried
can
to warn you.
officially freak out about Drake. He was my first pick after those couple rounds, so I was my 4th round pick. He is on my bench firmly.
That girlfriend.
That's painful. I forgot. 4th round.
I can't. I fall in love with the Miami Dolphins running back every year, and it just doesn't work. And then my team, I don't understand. I look at it, and it looks fantastic on paper, and it just doesn't perform. And so I'm freaked out.
Man, David, what's your freak out moment, man?
Yeah, for me, so, I love to have a good quarterback on my team. The first time we started this league, I drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 1st round before I really realized how you could get quarterbacks that were good later. But I reached, and I reached for Russell freaking Wilson. And man, he has been so bad this year. And he always had such a high floor because he rushed so much. And he's averaged like
not doing that.
10 yards a game, which is like less than Joe Flacco, right? So like
not a
I'm
good
happy
place
to
to
tell
be.
everyone here, if you want Russell Wilson, he'll be on the waiver wire this week. I mean, I can't imagine keeping him on my team. And
Yeah.
it's really because their offensive line is a dumpster fire.
It's so bad.
It's just, I mean, like, we watching that Bears game, I think he still sees Khalil Mack in his
Yep.
dreams of him just bearing down on him. No pun intended.
Oh
but
man, no Barry. Oh, nice, good play of
They're
words.
probably
there.
making the Colts mistake of saying we've got a tough guy
Yeah.
at quarterback. Let's just work on other parts of our team.
Yeah.
And he's getting smashed.
I mean, he had 9 points this week as a quarterback in our league.
9.
9.
All right, Chris. We
Well,
touched on your.
My freak out is these negative point defenses. I've never seen this. I wrote some down here. The Browns, -3. Lions, 0. That's
Solid.
My boy Phil. Stayed at
Solid
0.
score.
Miami had -2. Pittsburgh, that usually year to year has a good defense, -1. The Broncos, -2. Bengals, -5. Tampa, -9. What was once a popular streaming option in all of fantasy, it just can't be counted on anymore. Can you stream? It's like now you got to hold on to the one that gives you only
I was talking
positive
about,
points.
I was talking to Tim.
Pick up the black lung pop.
Oh, that
I don't know what that.
Funny. Let's move on.
And then so I was talking to Tim, and he's going to keep the Bears defense through the bye. I mean, it's worth keeping.
Yeah, it's keep the 0 because these guys were like most of them were on the bench outside of on waiver wires
Yeah.
outside of the Lions. Are you gonna pick up one of those guys? No. And then Ryan, I don't know you.
I
What's
coughed
your-
because I still don't know how to drink water.
Okay.
Seriously, like 9 out of 10 times I'll choke on water.
Good work.
Not cool.
What's your freak out?
I was like, okay, water is your freak out moment.
That's it. That's my only freak out moment because everything is fine to the 9 as far as I'm concerned. Everything is going well. I got Jeffrey back from injury. Things are
Le'Veon's
on the up
coming
and
back.
up. Le'Veon's coming back.
I know. Just coming up roses for Ryan Mekis. That's what he
Roses.
needs.
Yeah, man, I'm good, bros. I don't know what to tell y'all.
All right. So waiver wire. So we're gonna actually divulge what we think are good pickups this week. We're putting our professional careers
Our pro career
over
sitting down.
our fantasy league here. So if you guys tune in on Wednesday mornings now, you're probably gonna get a good look at what we're gonna be putting.
Yeah, so we're going to
Bids
look
on.
at our streamer options. Let's start off the quarterback position. We usually choose 3 here in our research department. Puts these up, and I'm going to knock them out here. We got Blake Bortles. He's playing against the Chiefs, who have no defense. So Blake Bortles had a 24.3 point performance last week in our league, and he's averaging just under 20 points. And he's going up against that non-existent Chiefs defense, which is ranked 30th in fantasy. I think it's a great streaming. We never thought Bortles would be a guy you would say.
He always
I could
ends
get
up
him.
there though.
He ends up there, but he's a streaming option because you break him up, drop him back down. Next one, Marcus Mariota. Again, another defense. He's going against Buffalo, a little bit higher and ranked 19th. But last week he went off. 30 points there coming off, and he's started slow, all right, with
He's
injuries.
injured, yeah.
And now coming in there, Corey Davis is looking good. He finally caught a regular season touchdown. Did you
Thanks.
bench him?
Thanks for giving them to me.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. But I mean, good numbers. 30 for 43, 344 yards. He had 46 rushing
he's rushing
yards,
again.
which is more than Wilson has all season, right, David? And 1 touchdown off of it. So he could be that dual threat that we've been waiting for in fantasy. So he's a streaming option there. And then Derek Carr playing the Chargers, who's usually a really well built defense with a pass rush, but Bosa, who knows when he's coming back. So the Chargers defense is 23rd in fantasy. So Derek Carr, his numbers were a little bloated this past week because he went in overtime, but he's still averaging. He's starting to climb up to 20 points. I think he and Gruden are getting on the same page. They got a lot of old guys to throw the ball to.
Yes.
But I watched that game because it was the most interesting game later in the afternoon, and I think he's starting to catch on to with Nelson and other guys on the team that I cannot name at this time because they just trade
Amari
away
Cooper.
people. Amari Cooper, yeah, he didn't drop the ball a lot. Like he actually
Their
was
tight
making
end had a
big
great
catches.
game too.
Yeah. Cook. So those are our 3 options there, and it's a really matchup when you come to streamers and via quarterbacks. These are guys who are good, but not part of that first tier, second tier elite fantasy quarterback. But my favorite streamer there is Marcus Mariota. All right, so we're going on to the running backs. I'll talk about Naheem Hines there. I can't, hopefully I said the first name correctly, but he's the pass catcher running back for the Colts. Had a great game, 9 catches, 63 yards. Heinies. Okay, we'll stick with Heinies. With 2 touchdowns. So he just got under 24 points in our league, averaging now at 11. But is he worth the split touch load? I mean, when Matt gets back in there, we don't know. And none of the workhorses in Indianapolis can, like, legit run the ball where a running back's supposed to do. So they're throwing the ball. I think Luck broke his personal record throwing 56 attempts. So Hines was in the game a lot, and he was a benefactor of that and scoring 2 touchdowns off Houston.
Do you remember trying to have a running back for the Colts when they had Peyton Manning? Yeah. Like I still have like PTSD for Colts running
like
backs.
Edgar and James.
Like you can't trust any of them. Like after
Ronald
even
Brown
like for 2 years he was okay.
Yeah.
And then they went like 15 years with like maybe he's gonna be the no, he's terrible. Maybe he's terrible.
Joseph Adai.
Oh,
That's a throwback right there.
you die. Yeah,
I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, Ronald Jones.
Yeah, so Ronald Jones, to me, I think he's a great stash. Unfortunately, he's not going to be playing this week. It's on a bye. But he's finally active. He's worth just, a speculative ad there. He's going to be...
Those rookies that can break out later.
Yeah, Barber's not gotten it done, so the door's open for him to take over that job.
Yep.
Yeah, and so Nick Chubb's another option that's come up a lot this week. I mean, he was a phenomenal athlete when he played at Georgia. I mean, he will, I think, be a dominant running back. But fantasy, to me, I lean towards high floor. I'm not a boomer bust guy. And 105 yards and 2 touchdowns looks amazing. But 3 carries. 3.
Yeah.
That could have been 3 carries for 5 yards, right? And so, man, Carlos Hyde is absolutely dominating that timeshare, if you even want to call it a timeshare. So I don't think I'll be touching them, but some people might want that boomer bust. So,
but David, that's like 35 yards per carry.
Great math.
Why 35?
Great math.
Man, hey, talk about Seattle running backs there, Ryan.
Don't do it. Move on.
Do it.
Mike Davis, he had a big game, but he's a Seattle running back. Can you really trust it?
No, just move on.
All right, so wide receivers, we got Sterling Shepard, D.D. Westbrook, say this name correctly, Kiki Kuti. Cutie Batootie is what I'll call him. And then Taylor Gabriel, which is one of those Chicago receivers that David couldn't name earlier, are your good 4 streaming option at receivers here. We can talk stats all day, but Sterling Shepard, you know what he's got to deal with in New York, but he's the true wide receiver 2 there.
Yeah, while Ingram's out, I think he's going to be solid to start.
Yep. D.D. Westbrook, I really think he could be the steady Eddie of the Jags' young, unproven wide receiver core. Keelan Cole was a popular option, and people left Westbrook off on their draft board. But he's averaging around 11 points there, and he's getting more targets and actually making catches out of those targets for Blake Bortles. Then can you speak about Cutie?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not on this train. I think Will Fuller is going to be back at some point, and Watson hasn't been what he was last year. So I don't know. I'm a third wide receiver option in Houston does not appeal to me whatsoever.
Well, yeah, that was his first NFL game. So it's just a splash thing. But if you're dying for receiver help, then maybe something you want to stash away. David, since you can't name him a Chicago receiver,
yeah,
do you
Gabriel.
want to talk
Well,
about
I knew
Taylor
his name
Gabriel?
now because he had a ton of points. I mean, I'm one of those people where they're in half point PPR. There are so many wide receivers.
Yeah.
It's hard to justify carrying anyone at that level with a bye. I mean, if you're going to have someone on your roster during a bye week, they better be a every week starter or a reliable flex play. So, I won't be putting money on Taylor today or this week, but you might. I don't know.
All right, so let's move to the tight end position. We got 4 guys here: Cameron Brate, Ricky Seals-Jones, Jeff Swaim, and Antonio Gates. We have, for
Back
some
from the
reason,
dead.
Antonio Gates here. Let's start off with Old Faithful down here. I call him Old Faithful because you can usually trust him, but he's a tight end 2 now. Virgil Green is taking that role and taking most of the snaps. I think he was on 77% of the offensive snaps. So Gates is really like in the red zone. And if you get a touchdown, that's your points, which most tight ends are right now.
You got one here, Ryan, you want to talk about in the tight ends?
Nah.
It's like, I'm good. I got Jimmy Grant. I don't need him.
Who scored?
Yes.
Yes,
At Lambeau.
he did.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Brate, obviously this is a buy, but, I feel way different about a tight end than a wide receiver because there's like 3 tight ends that are worth anything in our league. So, I mean, Winston's coming back, and he loves Cameron Brate. I mean, I think they probably like live together or something. So that'd be something I'd look into. He loves some touchdowns for sure.
talk about the Dallas tight end, Jeff Swaim. They're still looking for that replacement for Jason Witten, and he's starting to fill that void for him. I mean, 11 points last week, which is awesome. His average is right at 5, but if you check if any of the streaming options down there at tight end, most of them are averaging that because it's always hit or miss if you don't have that big tight end. Yeah. So looking at him.
Ricky Seals-Jones was the other one here, and it's just kind of on the hope that Rosen's going to get this offense going. So,
yeah, and Ricky Seals-Jones coming out of A&M high school, going to A&M out of high school, he was a wide receiver. When he was at A&M, he was a wide receiver, and then he just kind of was just a slow receiver that now they're making become a tight end. So he's got some good skill. But, yeah, he's a tight end 2 behind Gresham, which is tough. Then, lastly, that defense that I always hated at the beginning of the show.
Got to find a way to not get negative points.
Yeah, so it's all about the matchups, which is really difficult. So you got to capitalize. We're looking at 3 here between the Panthers, Titans, and Broncos. Panthers, they got the Giants. I don't know how you really want to go against that offense there.
Well, they haven't scored over 30 points in like 30 games. So
yeah, so it's like they have all the potential, but they won't do anything.
And then they have Eli Manning.
Yep.
Yeah. Pick City, baby.
Titans against the Bills, the Titans defense. I mean, we saw the Bills go off on the Vikings defense, but usually go work there. And then the Broncos against the Jets, with all the promise of the young quarterback in New York. I mean, they're still
continued his turnover ways.
Yeah, they're struggling to score. So if you're looking at negative or you got a defense on a bye, look at those streaming options and play the matchup. All right, play the matchup the best you can.
Yeah, when I was thinking about this segment, I was looking at the defenses available because I'm going to stream someone this week, and the Ravens are available, and they play the Browns. And like one of the 10 commandments of fantasy football was thou shalt stream the defense playing the Browns. And I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Baker
Baker
put up
Mayfield, man,
40-something
he's
points.
going to score 50 points on the Ravens, and I'm going to get negative $1 billion. Anyway, I couldn't believe that wasn't just like, oh yeah, they're playing the Browns.
I know.
Lock it down, put $50 on it, and it was like, oh no, the Browns. And that is like, this is a new leaf for the city of Cleveland for sure.
It's crazy.
All right, so let's talk about that bench player that we wish we started. Tim, did Tim put one in here?
I put this in here.
Oh,
so.
well, you talked this segment here
Yeah,
since you were on that one.
Yeah, so we actually talked about this in chat before we started the games this week, and he was deciding between Breida and Ridley, and I was like, go for Ridley. You paid for him. You got to
He's
use
hot,
him.
yeah.
And so he didn't do that decision, and I beat him for the top 5 matchup, so I think he kind of regrets putting in
Getting that
Breida there.
half-point win there.
He stands
Oh.
by it, but I know he regrets it.
Sean, this next one you're talking about, I completely support you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
typed this one in. Anyone over Drake.
Yeah,
Get him
That's
out
my
of
motto
your
of my
lineup.
team.
I don't even know if we're at the point of keeping him on your bench. I just
what-
but man,
Drop him, bro. Drop him.
And then I'm going to pick him up just for kicks and giggles.
Oh, and he'll be amazing, I'm
Yeah.
sure. If you do. So,
All right, so the game of the week, looking back here, week 4, and I love that Tim taking down Phil, the big man himself, Phil. Which could we blame him being in another country?
On his honeymoon.
I know if he won this week,
excuse.
then we'd question where his
Yeah.
priorities are at this week.
But you look, it was a 128-114 victory. Not even somewhat close, but not like the barely up there. But punt intended completely took this away here. I think the quarterback was the biggest difference here with Deshaun Watson having to go into overtime. He got 31 points, but Drew Brees, who's usually a double-digit guy,
Yeah,
only
instead they
getting
kicked
8
field
points.
goals, and freaking Chris over here had
Will
Lutz.
Lutz, amazing. But Drew Brees couldn't get it going. Alvin Kamara had a big game for him.
he should start.
but-
He should count as 2 people.
Yeah,
not
Kamara is
fair.
unreal. He had like what 39.
yeah, 30. Yeah, just under there, 38.6.
I mean that is he's like every week.
Yeah, just to put the Kamara in perspective here, through 4 weeks, he has 118 fantasy points. The next is 98 with Gurley. So he's got 20 more points than any other player in the league.
But do
Like,
you
it's
think,
crazy.
Sean, just asking you this, and you guys chime in too, next week Mark Ingram comes back?
I
Phil's
think
got him here. Do you think it takes
there's-
it away?
he won't get 39 points. He's still going to be an RB1, still going to be top 5. I think if anyone takes the hit, it's Ingram this year. He gets less of a workload.
Do you
but
think he gets the goal line carries? It might be a fantasy.
I don't know if
vulture
it
for
matters. I
touchdowns?
think the Saints are going to go back to that ground and pound, and it's just going to be 40 carries a game for the two of them. So
Yeah, but they want to balance him because I mean they're trying to win now, right?
Yeah.
So they want to not kill Kamara with 400 carries. They don't want to use him like Le'Veon Bell, right? I mean they want to they want to space it out and they want to give them rest for the playoffs, right? I think so. I think you'll see them getting a good timeshare, which hurts for fantasy for if you own Kamara for sure.
We got a trade review that what happened last week there.
Yeah, we want to go a little deeper into kind of what we thought, who won the trade, and long term what this is going to look like.
Yeah, so I did a little stat hunt here. Matt Ryan, it was Matt Ryan for Brandon Cooks. Matt Ryan position rank right now is at 2. All right,
very
and then
good.
Brandon Cooks, his position rank's at 11. So you look average points. Quarterback's usually higher. His is at 27.2. Receiver, Brandon Cooks doing really good, splitting the ball around, getting 16.5. So it depends on how you value that position group. Sean, what are your thoughts here? Was it a fair trade,
So-
one-sided?
As far as having a quarterback in the trade, I think it's fairly fair because I think that Matt Ryan is going to
fairly
be
fair.
fairly fair. He's going to be a top 5. Like I feel confident saying that he'll be
Yeah.
an auto start every week. But I would say that I give Tim the edge because you can replace that. Like you can just get a quarterback, as we talked about. I mean, he's dropping Russell Wilson, and he'll pick up somebody who will score 25 points this week. And you just cannot do that with a wide receiver. Brandon Cooks, like we said, with that Rams offense, you just put him in. Like you've got such a high probability that he's going to score, massive amounts of points because that offense is just pumping out fantasy.
Yep.
He traded with the captain.
Yeah, Tim and Morgan.
Tim
the
and
first
Morgan.
Morgan trade. Somehow.
Yeah,
I
first
think you're
ever.
going to lose this one.
And I look at Morgan, it made sense on his side because he had Cooper Kupp already, right? Sitting there, and he's got Odell Beckham.
It might work, though. You just put them 2 in.
So he has Carson Wentz sitting on the bench, so going for Matt Ryan, who might get him a little more because Philly's offense is still trying to find itself. It kind of made sense trading away receivers so you're not splitting those points. We always talk about doubling or tripling up, which I'm doing right now. But I'm still winning. But
With what team
3
are you
Vikings,
tripling up?
dude.
Sorry. I
Even
just
even
was
though
making
I
sure.
don't have Diggs on my team,
Ranked number 1.
I got a Thielen jersey, but it came from China and it was too big. And
How are
so
you in
weird.
first when the Vikings are terrible?
Well,
It's
they're
tough.
terrible, and then they're amazing, and then they're terrible. and
Yeah,
they're
that's
amazing.
It's every other week. But that's a trade review. I thought it was pretty even there, depending on how you value and what you need.
Yeah.
And look, they both are benefiting from it.
Yeah, this last segment here I put in I was pretty excited to. I think we should talk about somebody who's on someone's bench that kind of the future shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
And so the
won't
guy I
move
have
forward.
on here is James White. You might already be ready to put him in your lineup, Joe, but I'm saying do it. He's the one who's going to benefit probably the most from Burkhead going down. He's been there the longest. He's going to be the passing downs back. In this PPR format, just start him.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. Even with Sonny Michel coming in, James White was still kicking it tail against Miami.
Yeah.
With those catches and still getting very involved. I'm still picking on Sean here. I say start Kerryon Johnson. You got Corey Davis sitting on the bench there, so if you do something there with your flex and get rid of Drake, I understand that. But if I looked at a running back swap from your bench to the starting lineup, I think
Scared.
Johnson, even though Blunt for some reason starts the game, and then Johnson, it's probably maybe let him wear
He's
it
got
down.
like
and-
half the yards per carry, and somehow he doesn't deserve more work.
yeah, Johnson's doing really good for Detroit when he does get in the game, which is better value than where Drake's at right now. David, what's you got?
Yeah, I think we all know that Ryan's going to start Alshon Jeffrey next week. He drafted him high, knowing that he was going to be injured in and out at the beginning. But
I did not know.
well, that's all right. Well, maybe we all knew, but obviously he and Carson Wentz did not skip a beat, and so next week he'll be in. I'm sure heretofore the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, we just thought that this week we would have Reverend David is on here for
Do you love
for
that your
2
name is
reasons.
Robert?
Well, he's very good at fantasy, but he's
I just started
also
calling you that.
he's a very moral man, and we just wanted to make sure that as we're doing this podcast and everything, that we're not getting addicted. So he's kind of the expert on addiction in general and living a good moral life.
Because I feel like we need
Okay,
a
well.
addiction hotline running on the bottom of the screen.
1-800.
Call Sean.
So I was thinking about what I could do, and Ryan and I were talking, and we thought it might be a fun thing. This isn't fun, but one of
This
the most
isn't
important.
fun,
One of the
David.
most
We're talking about
important. Yeah, I
addiction.
know. I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me change my.
Yeah.
So I feel like with addiction, the biggest hurdle is to admitting that you're addicted, right? And
I
so
admit it.
sometimes, though, you aren't ready to admit it because you don't realize all the signs that are present in your life, right? So, I try to type up and just kind of put together a list of maybe 10 ways that you know that you're addicted to fantasy football. So, if you find yourself falling in some of these categories, you might want to, jot that down, and then, we can talk
Join the
offline
AA.
later. So,
Support group.
you know if you're addicted to fantasy football, if you know how many receptions Kenny Stills had last week, and you can't remember your kid's birthday. That would be sign number one. Number two, in church, your pastor is preaching, but you update your phone every 30 seconds to see if Alshon Jeffrey is active or not.
I did that
That's
last Sunday.
Yes. This one is
Between
one that really
services.
hit kind of close home to me. You daydream about meeting Matthew Berry, and better yet, you think about how good of friends you'd be if you knew each other in real life. Like if I just got to meet him,
He would
so
think I'm
good
amazing.
friends.
we would be best friends. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure. Yeah, we're almost both bald, so I feel like we have that going for us already.
Yeah, we played bocce ball.
But
at that
good
beach.
looking bald.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's highly debatable.
Look out, ladies.
He's got 3 kids, so he's doing something right.
I think you're clearly addicted to fantasy football if you watch an entire game between two teams that are already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, especially if one of those teams is like the Jaguars or the Titans. That's one of those
Those
games.
are both playoff teams last year.
This does not apply to our league personally anymore, but I put on here, if you set your alarm for 4 a.m. on Wednesday mornings to see if your bid was successful on the waiver wire, no joke, that exact thing is what made me go, I have a problem. It was like 3 years ago. I mean, I was actually speaking at a chapel at Norfolk Christian where I
remember
work,
hearing it,
and I
yeah.
remember being like, I set my alarm for 4 a.m. to see if I was able to pick up a running back that I wasn't even going to start that week.
But what's wrong with that, David?
You know what? Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but anyway, it's nice that it's at 11 o'clock now. I feel
Yes,
like I
I
can
moved
rest
it.
in peace. I really appreciate that. Another way to tell if you're addicted to fantasy is if you can name more receivers on the Rams than books you have read in the last 5 years. I feel like that's
Oh,
a
man.
way
Very
that you
easily.
know that you are addicted to fantasy
Your
football.
wife is a lucky woman. He's a gentleman and a scholar.
Oh, yeah, it's not great.
Only high marriage material people would say something like that.
And this is one that you definitely would know. That I think we've all, you actively cheer against your own real life team for fantasy implications.
Never.
You had Gurley last week.
Yeah.
Right?
You are
You know,
addicted. if-
I sweat wrestling with, should I start Roethlisberger this past week? And I was like, I can't do it. It'll ruin the game. So I think that was a good moment for me that I didn't have to watch that game the whole time going, I hope it's a high scoring affair, but I hope the Ravens win.
50 to 45.
A couple more of these. I think this one's one that we maybe shouldn't smile when I say, but you secretly cheer when your opponent's player gets taken off the field for
Yeah.
concussion protocol.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone?
I would
Ryan was,
never.
very, Ryan was very happy
I had
last
the
week.
opposite.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
Gronk is out. Oh, look. Will Fuller's out.
I'm watching the Vikings game. They pull Thielen, like the doctor up top, the independent doctor pulls him in there. I was like, no, I need him in the play. No, we're about to go a whole series. I need him
He'll
in
be
my
fine.
fantasy. You know?
You're always like, well, I hope he's just ruled out for this game, and then he's okay, right? And then then he can go into his family or whatever. But
worst guy
when he's
ever.
50, who cares? But like I need him, just out for this game. I think one of these might hit close to home to someone at this table. Your wife is calling you to come to bed, but you stay up until midnight to see if your team will earn a half-point win. So I feel like
Yes.
You
might
go
be
for
a-
a
I was
half-point win or a home run, and you go for the half-point win.
Are you coming to bed? Almost.
Almost.
I need to see if I get half a win. You know what? Don't come up. Just stay. Why don't you just stay on that couch down there? And then finally, number 10. You make a fantasy podcast with your friends from your league that will only be heard by 7 other people on the planet.
We love it.
So
We are all addicted.
if any of those resonated with you, then you seek help, right? Admit the problem, and then there can be recovery, right? But until we're willing to admit the addictions we suffer from, it will only own us more and more. So
And then last here, we got our injury report from Tim, so let's get to some serious stuff. All right, so week 4 roundup here with Tim. We're doing the injury, see what went on, and then kind of a little bit into the future, what we're looking at.
Yeah, so getting right into it. Fournette obviously re-injured his hamstring. That's an example of everything we've been talking about the last couple weeks. He came back a little bit too soon. He thought he was ready. Maybe he looked good, but whatever had happened, he ended up re-injuring himself. He's not going on IR as of right now, so that's the good news, is that he could still obviously come back this year. But my guess is they're going to hold him out a little bit longer this time around, and so hopefully he's ready for the playoffs. But at this point, he's not looking good.
Yeah, and so kind of with hamstring injuries there. Cook, this was kind of hard. I didn't know, did he re-injure it or was it just the snap count? Or
I think he wasn't feeling 100%. Everything I've seen is that he's just not quite there yet, and I think he recognizes that. So honestly, that's a good thing if you are the fellow that owns him. My guess is that he might be even a little bit more cautious now coming back after seeing what happened to Fournette.
Yep. Okay.
Will Fuller joins that list on the hamstring. He's obviously been a stud, catching a touchdown, I believe, every week since the season started. So that'll be one to monitor. Receivers typically have a little easier time sometimes than even running backs do coming back from that. So we'll just see what happens with him.
Okay.
Keep an eye on him. He may end up on a snap count.
Okay, and then Gronk, he kind of left the game.
Yeah, so he left the game. Who knows if he could have come back? I mean, they were obviously up big on that one.
No, we have to bring that up.
Yeah, sorry about that. They were up big on that one, so he very well could have come back, and we don't really know. The Patriots are always hush-hush about their injuries. They're obviously on a short week this week. I think he'll draw the questionable tag and then end up lining up, but I don't know the nature of his injury, so that's a hard one to go by. Tyler Eifert, on the other hand, I know the nature of his injury. That's not good. He's obviously done for the season.
One of the gruesome-looking ones.
Yeah,
there.
if you ever want to go find a fun video, if you're interested in that sort of thing, that is a pretty brutal injury. So
yeah, they came across the red zone as he twisted his ankle, and then they showed it, and I said, that's a little more than a twisted ankle.
It twisted and it stayed twisted, so it never came back over. He definitely dislocated that, and he probably has a fracture or two in there.
So let's talk about a few guys that might be coming back here in Mixon and Freeman.
Yeah, so some optimism coming from these camps. Joe Mixon did practice last week. I think they were just a little bit more cautious with him probably than needed to be, and he looks like he's going to be good to go this weekend. And then Devontae Freeman is the other fella. He may be back this week as well. He practiced. He has a shot to play against the Steelers.
Bruise or something?
So they were kind of hush-hush about him, too. They never really listed a definitive diagnosis, but it sounded like some sort of contusion of something. So if it was a bone bruise, I'm a little surprised to see him this soon, but who knows? Who knows what that was? So
Okay.
the only other one I guess I had three other fellas. O.J. Howard obviously went down with an MCL sprain. The only reason I bring this up is because Jameis Winston already loves Cameron Brate, so I think that's just a huge pickup for somebody if they didn't already have him.
But on bye this week, so
there you go.
Hold him for.
Yeah, you would have to hold him, but he is obviously going back to last year, he was a huge target for Jameis Winston. So. Chris Carson was a surprise inactive on Sunday. Morgan, but he had a hip injury. I think they'll be back. He'll be back this week. But who knows with that backfield? Who's going to get the touches that week? It's a mess,
man. It's a mess.
It's kind of a murky situation there. And then the last one I have down is T.Y. Hilton. Apparently he broke a rib, came back and played, and then tweaked his hamstring. So he had a rough day. I was pretty happy about that just because he was already tearing it up a little bit and allowed me to edge over Phil a little bit. But I would expect to see him out for at least 2 weeks given the combination of the two injuries, but probably closer to 4.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thanks, Tim.
Shoot me any questions that you guys have during the week. Let me know.
All right, Tim. Thank you for that. I wish I'd listened to you last week. I know you're talking about Cook now, but man, I should have listened to you last week. I had 2 points from him. So, guys, heed that information. It's really good news. Get that expertise there. So, this is the end, as a dog barks in the background, of our episode here. Next week, post waiver wire recap, game of the week. Anything else we should be expecting next week's episode, Sean?
Potentially Tim on the episode.
Okay.
Wanted to give some thoughts, so that's something you can look forward to.
Yep, and if you're
Or not.
in our league and haven't been a special guest yet, you haven't paid Sean enough to get on. I think you paid about $50.
You better trade with me.
Yeah, it's in the mail.
It's in the mail.
Check's in the mail.
Can't get there. But
All right, send us out here, Ryan.
go, Sean. All right,
We missed you.
Ryan. I did it last week. It was horrible.
Subscribe, thumbs up. Have a good week.
Deuces.